G'day folks, welcome back to Stuff and Such. Today we're back here at the firing range and I just wanted to do a quick little video of the Marlin 336, which has been a long-standing rifle. Been around for a lot of years. I threw a scope on it just for accuracy's sake and testing today. This particular rifle came to me in a very abused state, extremely rusty, all kind of pitted and cracked stock. I had to insert a bar into the bottom there and then cap it with epoxy and basically just kind of rescue it out of its grave. So that's why it's got that green and flat brown finish. I sanded the stock and just did a linseed rub on it, so I can just every so often just go ahead and rub it on. So this won't be a very good comparison for looks and quality. So I'm comparing the Marlin 336 to the Henry, I think it's called a Big Boy, that I have in the 30-30. So this one's also 30-30. This one's riding a Vortex Crossfire 2-7. Seems like it has a nice optics on, or a nice glass in it. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But that Vortex, they desperately need to change that. So here in my one hand is a Redfield 2-7, and you'll see the ends are both 32 mils. However, the size of those eyepieces, they're just enormous on the Vortex. Looks goofy. As you see with this one here, it doesn't have the side loading gate, so obviously I can't compare that to the Marlin. In my opinion, they stuck with the tube only feed for way too long. They should have addressed that many years ago. So now I'm kind of stuck with this model now. It's a little harder to sell, unfortunately, without the loading gate. Now they got that upgraded part, or upgraded feature, so it's made the, from what I've noticed, maybe it's different in other places, but I've noticed that rifles without the side loading gate tend to have a lower resale value. So, something to think about. In a previous video, you can watch it, I'll try and link it. We'll see if it works out. But anyways, in a previous video, I shot this one, got it sighted in, and it was shooting super accurate, almost 1 inch MOA out at 100 yards, except it would then, something would change. And I reached out to Henry, and they really didn't have very much to say. They do have a good warranty. They're more than happy to have me send it in to them, but I have no desire to go through that process again, because if you watched the video before that, when I showed all the issues I had with this thing and then sent it away, it was like 6-7 months before I got it back. So I don't want to do that. And it's shooting 2-inch groups, roughly 2.5-inch groups, which is pretty acceptable for what I am going to do with this thing. So anyways, we'll address that. The point of that story was that I'm going to be sighting in the Marlin with that Vortex first. Let's get into it. So we're just going to go ahead and start here at 25 yards. It's not a very forgiving eye box on the Vortex. Alright, let's go ahead. So we're a bit high there at 50 yards. So we're going to bring it down, 4 inches. So a total of 8 at 100 yards. Alright, let's stretch out to 100. Let's throw one more down there. I feel like I pulled one. Alright, let's let the gun cool down and go take a look. So as we're walking down to the targets here, I have a wee chin wag. First up here is 25 yards. So, which is not bad. So, a lot of this little comparison is going to be very subject to the individual. This is kind of my little review on it. Accuracy, that won't be the measuring fact, or whatever you want to call it, deciding factor, because this marlin has seen quite a bit of abuse, and guns vary from gun to gun, and how many rounds they've been seen in their lifetime, what kind of ammo you feed it, all that sort of stuff. So this is kind of a subject. Basically, it's going to come down to, here, let's show you 50 yards. Might have dropped it too much though. So it's going to come down to how I express myself about how I feel about the ease of cycle, how I feel the crispness of the trigger is. Because I have scopes on, it's not gonna address the sighting. I personally know which way I'm already leaning. At this stage, I'm already kind of biased, which one I sort of would prefer. If I could only have one, it's gonna rain. So if you can kind of guess my bias already, try and put it in the comments, and we'll see if you're right at the end of the video. So here we're at 100 yards. Oh, it's starting to rain. Gotta hurry. 100 yards. This is a 30-30 marlin. Nothing overly amazing. And I don't feel like that was my fault. Strange. Very strange. I'm sort of surprised to see that kind of spread. Because at 50 yards, I was shooting 1/2-inch group there. Mine was only 2, but that there's almost a 5-inch group. Could be the barrel's getting quite hot. I did fairly rapid fire a lot of rounds there, so let it cool down, shoot a group with the Henry, and then go from there. So when I was here last, it was shooting really good groups, except when it wouldn't. Now, typically I don't brass sort unless I'm trying for like precision stuff. But maybe that's where I was having that little bit of an issue. So there's 4 all the same head stamp. Focus. So we'll launch them down there and see what kind of group they make. So right off I can tell I don't like the trigger position on this thing. It's really far forward. And there's a lot of creep in it. Go off. Wow, that sucks. You really notice it when you compare it to another gun. When you come off something that has a reasonable trigger to something that has a terrible trigger, you can really see it. So right here, the Marlin wins. Wow. Not gonna like what the results of this are gonna be. Well, maybe, we'll see. It's gotta be like an 8-pound trigger. It's really bad. The trigger's so bad that you gotta actually reset, because like it'll start taking the weight of the hammer and then you run out of hold breath, so you have to recock it because you don't know when it's going to go off next. Go off. Alright, so there's 4 rounds. Let's head down. That sucks. So that was the first round. And I think it just started... That was the first round. I think it just started walking downward, which is useless. When I last was here, sighting it in, I had it expected to land in this range, and it is now. But to come back cold bore and shoot 4 inches high, that's not acceptable. Okay, so I'm done shooting the Henry for now. Right now I feel like it's pointless to go any further with it in the terms of checking for accuracy. I feel like the gun itself has a lot of potential for accuracy. I shot good groups in the past, and when you see something stringing like that up and down, there isn't any hardly side to side, it's just straight up and down. That's typically like a bedding issue or like a pressure point on the barrel. I don't know if it's fixable. I'll reach out to a few people and then possibly make a video on trying to fix that. One thing I will do with it before I get too wild is just simply take this scope off the Henry, because I should mention the Henry and the Marlin, they share the same bolt pattern for bases, which is really nice. So I got two Picatinny rails that are the same. So I'll take this vortex off the Marlin, stick it on that Henry, and shoot a quick group and see if possibly that red field is having issues or not. So anyways, enough yammering. Let's send three shots down on each target, and 2 different loads. I should try and be fair on this one too and choose all the same head stamp. This one we're going to go with Winchester. Alright, so we got three Winchesters. Okay, let's settle in here and do our best. Oh yeah, way better trigger. Let's say smoothness, it's on par. Trigger locations nicer, I can get a better straight pull on it. Alright, let's do a good shot on this one. Now we're going to try a different, more traditional round nose. Definitely at the range, the side gate is a huge upgrade. However, I think when you're actually in a hunting situation, having the ability to just finish your day dumping all your rounds into your hand, I think that's a good benefit. Alright. It's pretty weak shoulders or primer strikes, and also the head spacing's a bit loose in it. So if you want a tiny quick lesson, you notice with my Henry I really had to crush the bolt closed. Well, what it's doing is it's pushing on this shoulder here. That's called your head space. So from the back of where it sits against the bolt to up at the front here, that's your head space. So this gun is kind of loose, so that's why I made these ones a bit longer, and the other ones were just more generic rounds. But where'd it go? So the firing hammer is actually pushing the chamber or the round forward, and then the second time I shoot, that's when it hits the primer hard enough to actually make it go off. One last round for this session. Let's make her a good one. So there's 3-shot group there. A nice 3-shot group there. Different loads. Overall reasonably satisfactory. So I guess we need to wrap up this video and try and answer the title of this video. What's better, the Henry 30-30 or the Marlin 336? Now it's pretty well impossible to actually answer that question. It's kind of just couldn't really think of anything better to write. The Henry, in its own right, is a beautiful piece, but it seems very flawed to some degree. See, when I look at the Marlin 336 here, I see a strict bush gun that acceptable accuracy would be something around 2 to 3 inches, which is roughly what it's doing. I have a little instinct that it has more potential if I do a little load development and get some head spacing and basically tailor a load just for this rifle. I feel I can do 1.5 inches pretty reasonable. This gun, on the other hand, it has a lot of potential. It's a very accurate barrel, and you can see that with this target that I shot. You can see the straightness of that up and down. It's within the variance of just the operator pulling the trigger. But something else in the configuration is throwing it for a loop, meaning there's some sort of tension on this gun somewhere. I heard that potentially it could be in the forearm. I really don't know what they can do. Which kind of brings me to the point of, what does this gun have a purpose for? It's nice and pretty, so you don't really want to get it scratched up. It's probably 1.5 pounds heavier than the Marlin, so you don't want to bring it in the bush hunting. Which then brings you to its next possible potential as a ranged target gun, which the barrel seems like it's capable of. However, the trigger's atrocious. It didn't have the side load gate. They put it in, so you couldn't easily load it at the range. Like, just slip a couple in on the side. So I don't really know what purpose it actually serves. It's pretty. Pull it out, and people look at it and say ooh and ah and all that good stuff, but if someone was just giving me a gun to say go hunt with, and the Marlin 336 was in good shape, I would choose the Marlin. But yeah, I vote for the Marlin. I've heard the Remington versions aren't the greatest, but I have heard the Ruger versions of the Marlin that are coming out are quite good now. So before I totally write the Henry off, not write it off, but I'm gonna sort of chase accuracy a little bit, or see if I can figure it out. First thing I do is I'm just gonna change the scope, because the mount does have potential to cause that kind of an issue. As for the smoothness of the actions, I would say they're pretty similar. The curved handle fits my hand a bit better. The trigger's in a more ergonomic position. It's a little more clacky, but so I'm going to move this scope over. What do we need to move over? 2 inches. 2 inches to the left, and that should be good. It's a little low, so maybe we'll bring it up 2 inches or 1.5 inches. Right there. Hope you like this video. Hopefully I didn't try and push any of my own personal views or biases on you. I sort of honestly felt I'd like the Henry a bit more, but having put it side by side on the Marlin and shooting it directly after really illustrated just how terrible that trigger is on that Henry. It's almost one of the worst triggers I've ever shot. And that's saying a fair bit because I've shot some pretty cheap crossbows. It doesn't pull as far as a crossbow, but man, it's nasty. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope I didn't discourage you too much from the Henry. I feel like if you live in the States especially, if you raise any of these concerns with Henry, they'll have a shipping label to you ASAP, having that gun brought into their warranty section, and we'll have it worked on until you're happy. That's what I really like about Henry, so I hate to kind of crap on them any, because customer service like that in the firearm industry is really hard to find, and I'd hate to see them go under for lack of sales because some donkey said on YouTube like myself. So if you're okay with it being heavy and having those issues with accuracy straight out of the box, get it, shoot it, send it to warranty until you're happy, and perhaps none of these issues will even appear out of the box. Anyways, I hope I made something sort of entertaining for you. If you could go ahead and subscribe, like the channel, all that good stuff that people ramble about, we would appreciate it, and we will see you on the next one. Bye for now, guys.